Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 285 based on novel. So let's start. As the slaughter energy spread out, some came at Wang Lin. The celestial realm fragment rotated even faster around Wang Lin, almost forming a vortex to completely protect him. Wang Lin continued to retreat as sounds of slamming echoed in his ear. Every sound was a strand of slaughter energy smashing into the celestial realm fragment. So many strands of slaughter energy, but this grey-robed all-seer is obviously not going all out. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He had been thinking about how to break this trap. When I absorbed that sliver of extreme yang, the heaven-defying bead trembled. Wang Lin's eyes shined while hundreds and thousands of ideas flashed through his mind. After the heaven-defying bead had completed the 5 elements, the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth symbols disappeared and were replaced by yin and yang. At this moment, it was as if Wang Lin had gained enlightenment. That's right. What the heaven-defying bead needs is yin and yang. This extreme yang suits the needs of the heaven-defying bead. Wang Lin had thought about how to meet the yin and yang needs of the heaven-defying bead after the 5 elements were completed. However, no matter how hard he tried, there was no change to the sun and moon marks on the heaven-defying bead. No matter how godly the All-Seer's ability may seem, he can't foresee the fact that I have the heaven-defying bead. Much less that I can use it to absorb this extreme yang. Therefore, he will have calculated wrongly and I can break this scheme. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he stared at the grey-robed All-Seer. The more he thought, the more feasible it seemed. As for the chance of the heaven-defying bead being found, ever since I obtained it, not even that mysterious third-step cultivator from All Heaven could detect the heaven-defying bead. I don't believe that the All-Seer can detect it. As for Ling Qianhu, his expression was gloomy. The reason he came here wasn't to help Wang Lin, he just liked to rouse trouble in everything the All-Seer did. In addition, with his understanding of the All-Seer, he vaguely guessed Wang Lin's importance. The more the All-Seer placed importance in this, the more interested he was in messing it up. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Ling Qianhu sneered as his right hand formed a seal. He pointed and shouted, "Break third style, sword boy spirit sacrifice." After he spoke, a burst of sword energy came from the boy surrounded by endless slaughter energy. He stepped forward and landed on the python formed by the serpentine celestial sword. The moment his feet landed, the boy's head jerked up and he let out a shrill. This shrill became a sharp sword that penetrated into the slaughter energy. The moment the boy screamed, his body collapsed into green mist and quickly entered the celestial sword. Sword sacrifice. The serpentine celestial sword trembled as if it had absorbed the sacrifice of the boy. A sword hymn that could penetrate the high heavens appeared and smashed toward the slaughter energy with an unimaginable force. Rumble, rumble. A series of heaven-shaking rumbles echoed and large storms swept the area. As the constant impact continued, strands of slaughter energy dissipated under the sword energy. At this moment, the world was shrouded in sword energy. A vortex of sword energy formed from all the sword energy around Ling Qianhu. The sound of the sword energy replaced all the sounds in the world. The grey-robed All-Seer was indifferent as he looked at all this sword energy. He calmly looked at Ling Qianhu. He raised his right hand, and coldly said, "Your sword energy has increased. If you can take this old man's next attack, I won't interfere in the battle between you and that All-Seer." With that, his right hand formed a seal and pointed at Ling Qianhu. When he pointed, the entire sky turned black, as if a giant had scattered ink on it. The darkness churned and the entire world became black. "Since you became a saint through swords, then I'll fight you with a sword. Slaughter, turn to sword." The grey-robed All-Seer's voice was flat, but the moment his finger landed, the countless slaughter energy strands gathered toward him like crazy. Those strands of slaughter energy were each a life. The millions of slaughter energy gathered, and this scene made Wang Lin gasp. Those slaughter energy strands around him gave up their pursuit and retreated. They gathered toward where the grey-robed All-Seer was pointing. In just an instant, as strands of slaughter energy fused, a 7-inch long and 3-inch wide red long sword appeared before the grey-robed All-Seer. The sword gave off strands of smoke. The grey-robed All-Seer casually waved his hand and the sword let out a heaven-shaking sword hymn. The sword turned into a red line and shot toward Ling Qianho's serpentine celestial sword. The two swords moved faster and faster, and the sonic boom caused by the two swords spread across the entire planet. In an instant, the two swords collided. These two swords didn't really touch, they were 7 inches away from each other. Bursts of thunderous rumbles came from this 7-inch space, and countless rays of sword energy collided. Large amounts lightning scattered in all directions. A large amount of power was concentrated in this 7-inch space. The grey-robed All-Seer nodded and slowly said, "Not bad, your cultivation has increased quite a bit. However, if this is all you got today, you will be kicked off planet Qianyun by me." Ling Qianhu sneered as he waved his sleeve and his arms opened up. He shouted, "I, Ling Qianhu, only cultivate the Tao of Swords. In recent years, I gained enlightenment in the law of swords. Grey-robe, I don't know why you're willing to be manipulated by him, but for you to appear here means you gave up on our friendship from back then." The grey-robed All-Seer pondered but didn't speak. Ling Qianhu took a deep breath and waved his hands. A crack appeared between his eyebrows and a ray of black light came out. After the black light came out, it immediately surrounded Ling Qianhu. Shortly after, it was impossible to see Ling Qianhu's figure. "I use my origin soul to refine a sword spirit. I use my flesh and blood to refine a sword. I am the sword and the sword is me." Ling Qianhu's voice came out from the black light in an extremely strange tone. At this instant, the black light became intense and Ling Qianhu sat down inside it. The crack between his eyebrows opened and closed in a strange way. His eyes revealed a demonic light, then they slowly closed. The moment his eyes closed, his body trembled and a shadow flew out from his forehead. This shadow was a sword. A sword formed by Ling Qianhu's origin soul that was refined by him all his life. The moment this sword appeared, worship-like sword hymns came from all over planet Qianyun. All the swords on planet Qianyun began to tremble. The shadow flickered and pierced through the black light, going toward the serpentine celestial sword. The serpentine celestial sword seemed to have intelligence, it flashed red and charged forward. The distance between the swords shrank from 7 inches to 3 inches. The moment the shadow moved, a crack was ripped over in the sky. The All-Seer's indifference changed for the first time. His eyes shined brightly as he stared at the shadow of the sword and laughed. "Good. Ling Qianhu, since you were able to refine a sword to this degree, I will use 70% of my power to battle you." After the grey-robed All-Seer finished speaking, he took a step back and opened his mouth to let out a roar. His face was extremely ferocious when he let out that roar, and countless strands of slaughter energy rushed out from his body. The slaughter energy surrounded him before finally charging forward. It fused with the slaughter sword, causing the power of the slaughter sword to increase greatly. The 3-inch distance between the two swords instantly collapsed. Both swords, carrying unimaginable power, collided. Boom! Just at this instant, a large amount of 7-colored light appeared in the dark sky. This 7-colored light surrounded the three of them, and the next instant, they were in space outside the planet. The tips of the two swords collided in space. Boom, 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 boom. As the two swords continued to collide, a powerful storm formed in space. As the two swords constantly collided, the slaughter energy sword finally collapsed and was pushed back. It turned into countless strands of slaughter energy before dissipating. As for the serpentine celestial sword, a crack appeared in its middle and it was pushed back. The slaughter energy lasted for 3 breaths of time before it eventually collapsed and turned into countless strands of grey gas that returned to the grey-robed All-Seer. The All-Seer smiled before he turned around and charged back to planet Qianyun. "Ling Qianhu, this old man doesn't care about your matter anymore." As the serpentine celestial sword retreated, a shadow appeared from the crack and turned into Ling Qianhu. He stared at the sky and sneered. "All-Seer, you son of a gun, you finally appeared." There was a flash of 7-colored light where Ling Qianhu was looking and the All-Seer's figure lowly condensed. This figure was an illusion formed by the 7-colored light. After he appeared, he looked at Ling Qianhu and calmly said, "Ling Qianhu, we already fought, but you have no reason to interfere with the matters of my heavenly fate sect. Ling Qianhu rolled his eyes and sneered while not looking at the All-Seer. Instead, his eyes fell on Wang Lin, and he shouted, "Wang Lin, this old man's Da Lu sword sect is missing an elder. Are you willing to become an elder of the Da Lu sword sect?" The All-Seer frowned. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Hundreds of thoughts flashed through his mind before he clasped his hands and said, "Thank you." Ling Qianhu looked at the All-Seer and sneered. "All-Seer, according to our agreement, this old man now has a reason to intervene." The All-Seer's eyebrows relaxed. After pondering for a moment, he let out a smile and looked profoundly at Wang Lin. He calmly said, "Is that so? Then let's forget it." He spoke casually before disappearing in a ray of seven-colored light. The scene caused Wang Lin's mind to tremble. He stared at where the All-Seer disappeared and began to ponder. Ling Qianhu's expression instantly became gloomy and he frowned. In the end, he simply slapped his bag of holding and 5 turtle shells appeared. They rotated in his hand, and Ling Qianhu would occasionally make some hand seals. Shortly after, Ling Qianhu's expression became even more gloomy and he muttered, "That damn son of a gun All-Seer, what does he mean by this?" As he pondered, he raised his head and looked at Wang Lin. For Wang Lin to be schemed like this by the All-Seer means he must be very useful. I presume he is very useful to the All-Seer's Dao. Especially considering this person is part of the Vermilion Bird series. The All-Seer's scheme against him must be of great importance, or else he wouldn't be willing to offend the 4 divine sect just for him. If his scheme is successful, he might obtain power that can shake the 4 divine sect. If this is true, then I have to stop that old son of a gun. Otherwise, if the All-Seer succeeds, I'll never have any hope of turning things against him in my life. Thoughts quickly flashed through Ling Qianhu's mind. However, if Wang Lin is really so important to him, why did he leave so calmly? Not even the divination diagram could see anything. Strange. Ling Qianhu released a dark sigh as he looked at Wang Lin and slowly said, "Wang Lin, even if I hadn't come to help you today, the All-Seer wouldn't dare to kill you so easily. After all, you are part of the Vermilion Bird series." Wang Lin was still thinking about the relationship between Ling Qianhu and the All-Seer from beginning to end. At this moment, he clasped his hands. There are 3 people in the Vermilion Bird series, and I'm merely one of them. In short, Junior will remember Sword Saint's help. Ling Qianhu nodded and smiled. When the Vermilion Bird Holy Emperor came to power, I was just a junior. His grace has helped me before, but it has been too long and I doubt he remembers. You are a Vermilion Bird series, and if you obtain the right opportunity, you will be the next Vermilion Bird Holy Emperor. It is better for us to talk as equals. After all, you are no longer a disciple of that old son of a gun, the All-Seer. Wang Lin's expression was calm and he said, "Sword Saint is being polite. Since this is the case, I'll listen to Sword Saint." Ling Qianhu laughed and extended his hand. "Fellow cultivator Wang, follow this old man to planet Da Lu. Once the tide abyss opens, we will go to the celestial cave." Wang Lin smiled and nodded. "Please lead the way." The 2 of them quickly moved. Planet Da Lu was not far away and they were both powerful cultivators, so they were naturally very fast. It didn't take long before planet Da Lu appeared before them. Along the way, Ling Qianhu never talked about how Wang Lin had killed his disciples. It was as if he had forgotten about it. Instead, he talked about celestial spells and Dao with Wang Lin. It could be said that this was the first time he and Wang Lin had gotten to talk with each other. Along the way, although Wang Lin didn't speak much, what he said made Ling Qianhu look at him with admiration. This Wang Lin is indeed worthy of being one of the Vermilion Bird series. Not only is his cultivation powerful, his insight and comprehension are equally amazing. While they spoke, Wang Lin was also pondering the matter about the extreme young and made a plan. Wang Lin thought for a long time and couldn't understand what the All-Seer was thinking for dismissing this so casually. However, he had a vague guess that the All-Seer's action wasn't targeted at him. But Wang Lin looked at Ling Qianhu behind him. Was this Ling Qianhu? From a distance, planet Da Lu looked to be filled with sword energy in addition to being blue. This sword energy looked very chaotic and scattered. However, once your cultivation reached a certain degree, you would notice, after careful observation, that this sword energy was not normal. This sword energy wasn't being released by cultivators, but by planet Daalu itself. It was because of this that it looked rather chaotic. However, Wang Lin realized that if someone were to guide this sword energy, the power would be earth-shaking. Planet Daalu does not belong in the area of planet Qianyun. This old man spent painstaking effort to complete a personal request from the Brilliant Void Cultivation sect and was rewarded this planet. This planet came from an illusionary planet that is always burning in the Brilliant Void Hell. That illusionary planet was very large, thousands of times larger than planet Qianyun. It was refined as a sword by Master Void Spirit of the Brilliant Void Cultivation sect. That's how planet Daalu came to be. Ling Qianho's voice was calm, but there was a trace of pride in it. Due to an incident, the illusionary planet collapsed, and planet Daalu is a fragment from the collapsed planet. Brilliant Void. Wang Lin's expression changed. This was the second time he had heard this. The first time he heard it was from Qing Shui. It seemed the Alliance star system was once called the Brilliant Void star system. Cultivation sect. Could this be a cultivation sect that is named Brilliant Void? Wang Lin pondered. The Brilliant Void Cultivation sect is the only rank 9 cultivation planet in the Alliance. However, it is just referred to as the Brilliant Void Cultivation sect by everyone. Ling Qianhu naturally saw Wang Lin's confusion and realized that Wang Lin didn't know much about this, so he offered an explanation. They are the only ones who kept the old name, Brilliant Void. Reminiscence filled Ling Qianho's eyes. In the Alliance star system, after someone's cultivation has reached a certain level, you may choose to not join the Cultivation Alliance. However, that person would still respect the Brilliant Void Cultivation sect. It is an honor to be invited by them. Every 3,000 years, the Brilliant Void Cultivation sect sends out 3 invitation jades to recognized cultivators to be invited to the Brilliant Void Hell to cultivate. Back then, both me and the All-Seer obtained the invitations together. Brilliant Void. Wang Lin silently digested what Ling Qianhu had said. A moment later, his eyes lit up and he said, since every 3,000 years people enter, then I presume people of the Brilliant Void Cultivation sect come out. Of course there are people that come out. Do you remember the woman who looked like a mortal woman when you first came back? Back then, the third person that went with me and the All-Seer was her. She had a female disciple beside her, and if I'm not wrong, she is from the Brilliant Void Cultivation sect. Wang Lin was startled. The first person he thought about was the woman in pink that invited him. The Brilliant Void Cultivation sect retained an ancient tradition. There is always a Brilliant Void Saintress. I just don't know if she is the Saintress. Brilliant Void Saintress. Wang Lin rubbed his temples. Everything Ling Qianhu had said were things he had not heard of before. Your Four Divine sect was the overlord of Brilliant Void a very long time ago. Unfortunately, Ling Qianhu shook his head and didn't continue. However, these words caused Wang Lin's mind to tremble when he heard it. The Four Divine sect was once the overlord of Brilliant Void. Wang Lin had once guessed the power of the Four Divine sect, but it seemed the Four Divine sect had far surpassed his imagination. As the two moved, planet Daalu became closer and closer. This was the first time Wang Lin had come to planet Daalu. The closer he got, the more he could feel the endless sword energy that was constantly being sent out. Oceans occupied a majority of the planet, and the only sect on this planet was the Daalu sword sect. Those towers all appeared before Wang Lin's eyes one by one. The disciples of the Daalu sword sect flew into the air. They filled the air, and there were at least 10,000 of them. However, what Wang Lin found strange was that most of them were at the ascendant stage. Although there were a few illusionary yin cultivators, there was not a single corporeal yang cultivator. Ling Qianhu faintly smiled and said, do you find it weird that the Grand Daalu sword sect has so few second-step cultivators? Wang Lin didn't conceal it and nodded. It indeed is strange. The disciples of the Heavenly Fate sect's 7 divisions suppress their cultivation every day. They fear that once they lose control of their seals, they will be devoured by that old son of a gun. This isn't the case here, it's just that those who entered the second step have another place to go. Each of the tens of thousands of cultivators below them had a big sword on their back. They were all very respectful. When Wang Lin and Ling Qianhu descended, all of them bowed in unison. "Welcome, Sect Master Sword Saint." This sound was like a mighty bolt of thunder that echoed across planet Da Lu. Ling Qianhu laughed. At this moment, a few dozen people flew out toward Ling Qianhu. They were very respectful, and some of them were ones that followed Ling Qianhu to the Heavenly Fate sect, so they knew Wang Lin. When they saw Wang Lin, their expressions became strange. They couldn't guess why Wang Lin was together with Ling Qianhu. Wang Lin's gaze swept those tens of thousands of people, and he had a thought. Back during the battle with the Alliance in the northern region, I met Chen Long, but here I don't see him. Ling Qianhu waved his sleeves, then he flew forward and arrived at the largest tower. From today onward, Wang Lin will be an elder of my Da Lu Sword sect. Ling Qianhu only said one thing before disappearing into the large tower. "Elder Wang, I'm going to go into closed-door cultivation for this period of time. You will be safe on my planet Da Lu." Ling Qianhu's divine sense echoed inside Wang Lin's ears. The implication of Ling Qianhu to tell me so many secrets and helping me is to set up a good relationship with me. I fear a majority of the reason is that I'm part of the Vermilion Bird series. And a part of it was to reassure me. Wang Lin's expression was calm, but in his heart he slowly pondered this. After Ling Qianhu entered the tower, the tens of thousands of Da Lu Sword sect disciples all looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin was accustomed to this kind of attention. His divine sense calmly spread out in all directions like a storm. The divine sense of an early-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivator was not something these Da Lu Sword sect disciples could deal with. With a sweep of his divine sense, all the Da Lu Sword sect disciples' expressions changed greatly. They looked at Wang Lin with respect in their eyes. Wang Lin calmly said, "Where is this old man staying?" A beautiful female cultivator quickly moved forward and stopped 100 feet from Wang Lin. She respectfully said, "Disciple Zhu Xiao greets Elder." Elder came suddenly, so? Generally, the elders select their own residences. Zhu Xiao's voice was a little stiff. Wang Lin took a step and disappeared. When reappeared, he was next to a tower 5,000 kilometers away. After taking a glance, Wang Lin didn't enter but sat down outside the tower. After sitting down, he waved his hand and a large amount of restrictions appeared. As for the disciples, they all scattered. They would occasionally look at where Wang Lin was. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he sat there. He had a feeling that everything had been part of the All-Seer's plan, as if his every step was foreseen by the All-Seer. "All-Seer, back then, I made you make a mistake. Today, I'll let you be completely wrong." Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and the extreme yang appeared like a sun in his hand. Wang Lin didn't dare to hold it directly but with his power. Wang Lin had a clear feeling that if he held it in his palm, the heat would pierce his hand. Even his origin soul would be seriously injured. If it wasn't for the fact that he had the body of an ancient god, he wouldn't even be able to withstand holding it with his power. If my ancient god body was a bit stronger, I could hold it without being hurt. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He wasn't afraid that Ling Qianhu would see this. This was something formed by his karma with the All-Seer. If someone were to steal it, it would resolve the situation. However, this was at most simply resolving the situation, not breaking it. To break this scheme, he had to do something the All-Seer didn't expect and make his divination wrong. After pondering for a long time, Wang Lin clenched his teeth as he held a trace of the extreme yang and pressed it against between his eyebrows. He felt pain coming from between his eyebrows and the extreme yang disappeared. However, it was as if a sea of flames with unimaginable heat had appeared in his body. It made him feel as if he was being baked into an oven. Ling Qianhu sat inside the roaring tower on planet Da Lu, his eyes giving off a demonic glow. The crack between his eyebrows opened once more. He stared at the direction Wang Lin was in and pondered. "This is extreme yang." Ling Qianhu's eyes suddenly narrowed. "All-Seer, you old son of a gun, what are you baiting with that extreme yang?" What is your goal in the end? Ling Qianhu raised his right hand, but after a long time, he lowered it. He shook his head and muttered, "All-seer, you son of a gun, could it be you want me to take that extreme yang?" The sea of flames inside Wang Lin's body was monstrous and continued to burn. White mist came out from his body, but the strange thing was, there was no trace of his clothes burning. Large beads of sweat appeared all over Wang Lin's body, his clothes were soaked in an instant. This sea of flames was like a storm that raged across Wang Lin's body, and sounds of things bursting came from all over his body. These flames was extremely fierce, and in just a short moment, they reached a terrifying degree. The pain that came from Wang Lin's body made him have a hideous expression on his face. It was as if a mortal had swallowed a burning coal. If it wasn't for Wang Lin's strong will, he would have already roared in a pain. If it was another cultivator, even if they had a higher cultivation level, they wouldn't be able to bear this heat. It was only because he had the body of an ancient god that he was able to tolerate it. However, if this lasted for too long, even Wang Lin wouldn't be able to withstand it with his ancient god body. Time slowly passed. It was only 15 minutes, but it felt like years for Wang Lin. The flame became even more intense and Wang Lin's body couldn't help but tremble. He suddenly opened his eyes. It was as if there were two blue flames inside his eyes. As these invisible flames spread, the air around him began to crackle under the heat. When the flames became even more intense, Wang Lin couldn't help but let out a roar. This roar was like a thunderous rumble that quickly spread across the area. At this moment, on the trident-like mountain where the All-Seer was sitting, his closed eyes opened slightly, revealing a gaze that could see through everything. His gaze fell on the sky as if it could penetrate any distance and saw Wang Lin on planet Dalu. The All-Seer's expression didn't change, but he frowned slightly and softly said, "That is not something you can devour. You will spit it out in 7 breaths of time. 1. 2. The All-Seer's eyes were crystal clear as he slowly muttered. Wang Lin's body gave off a demonic red glow. This glow came from the heat inside his body as the endless flames continued to burn him. Soon, the flames had spread to every part of Wang Lin's body. At this moment, the All-Seer had counted to 5. 6. The sea of flames seemed to exploded within Wang Lin's body, and a large amount of blood sprayed out from his body. Wang Lin had a feeling that if he didn't spit this extreme yang out, he would be burned to ashes. 7. The All-Seer softly shouted the last word. At this instant, the sea of flames inside Wang Lin's body completely exploded. It gathered from every part of Wang Lin's body and charged toward his origin soul. However, just at this moment, Wang Lin's origin soul was shrouded by clouds and the heaven-defying bead appeared. The moment the heaven-defying bead appeared, the raging flame arrived. However, before it could harm Wang Lin's origin soul, a strange suction force came from the heaven-defying bead, and all the flames were absorbed by it. Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly as the pain in his body disappeared and was replaced with an indescribable comfort. After the heaven-defying bead absorbed all the flames, the sun mark began to flash rapidly. Its brightness was something no one but Wang Lin could see. The instant the light came from the heaven-defying bead, Ling Qianhu exclaimed and closed his eyes. He didn't even have time to get up before rapidly retreating. At that instant, he saw the flame in Wang Lin's body disappear. Then he suddenly had the feeling that a catastrophe was upon him. He had never experienced this feeling, even when he faced the All-Seer. Only back when he went to the Brilliant Void Cultivation Sect did he have a similar feeling. Now, tens of thousands of years later, he once again felt this feeling, as if he was going to lose his wits if he didn't retreat. What light is this? Panic filled his eyes as Ling Qianhu quickly retreated, and his expression changed greatly. He had a vague feeling that the invisible light was rapidly approaching. Terrified, his right hand slapped his forehead and a flash came out from his eyebrows. The sword shadow that was used against the All-Seer flew out and charged forward without any hesitation. The moment the sword shadow flew out, the invisible light appeared and collided with it. No outsider could hear or feel this collision, but Ling Qianhu directly coughed out a large mouthful of blood. His body smashed into the wall and flew out of the tower. The sword shadow trembled and almost collapsed. Then it returned back between Ling Qianho's eyebrows after letting out a miserable cry. Ling Qianho's face became even more pale and he coughed out even more blood. His body became dispirited. Panicking, his scalp tingled as he charged underground and rushed toward the center of planet Lu without any hesitation. As he escaped, Ling Qianho's hands formed seals to open seals before him. Panic filled his mind, and the only thought he could think of was entering the center of planet Lu. As for the All-Seer on top of the Trident Peak mountain on planet Qianyun, he was calm at first, but soon his expression changed greatly. This kind of change in expression was extremely rare for the All-Seer. If an outsider saw the current All-Seer, they would be in complete belief. The omnipotent All-Seer who was never wrong and whose expression would never change even if Mount Tai collapsed before him would never show such an expression. More importantly, if it was just his expression changing, it wouldn't be such a big deal, but there was a trace of shock in his eyes. As a member of the Alliance Elder Group and the Lord of Planet Qianyun, he was one who could foresee the world, and his schemes were as deep as the ocean. This shock was enough to shake the entire Alliance. He gasped and disbelief filled his face. His right hand rapidly moved before his body and a seven-colored cloud appeared. The cloud flew forward as if it was resisting something. However, when the seven-colored cloud floated 5 feet away, it was as if an invisible force closed in and the cloud collapsed. After the cloud collapsed, a hand appeared from the void and mercilessly attempted to grab the All-Seer. This video will end here.